many of us, the search for this elusive place started long before we ever heard the term twin flames. Perhaps you too recall moments where the distant memory of this place was triggered and you felt a deep longing, sadness, or a desire to be somewhere you couldn't consciously grasp or define. Perhaps like me, you too felt compelled to search for whatever it is that would fill that void and finally grant you inner peace. My search for home started when I was a very small child. Without knowing anything about reincarnation or even souls, I felt that for some reason I had ended up in the wrong place. This was not just about physical appearances. I was dark-eyed/haired in a country of blue-eyed and blonde-haired people. I felt just as out of place inside. I was fascinated with other cultures and languages, particularly North Africa and the Arabic culture, incidentally, where my twin grew up. From the age of about 7, I became aware of the presence of another being within my energetic space. In my dreams he would become a real person and we would sit on top of sand dunes at moonlight looking down on sleepy towns, sharing our hopes and aspirations. Our togetherness, albeit imaginary, became the foundation of many of my childhood games, drawings and stories about eternal lovers hidden behind the veil of illusion, overcoming obstacles to finally be together. My experience is by no means unusual. Many of us maintain a real, living connection to our twin flame years before meeting them. After all, twin flames share the ability to reach out to each other through the boundaries of time and space, and many are able to pick up on things, such as their twin's name, or perhaps where they live. Later in life, some find themselves guided to travel or even to move to a different state, country or continent in order to cross paths with their twin flame. I am one of those who took such a leap of faith after I, aged 17, had a profound experience visiting Paris where I wept with joy, feeling myself closer than ever to this elusive home I so yearned to find. It was there that I knew I had to settle. And it is there that I met my twin some 6 years later. While being in Paris gave me a temporary sense of peace, I spent most of the year leading up to our meeting obsessively traveling the world as far and as wide as I could, and so did my twin. The sense of imminent arrival of this something I had searched for, this something I had wanted so long, made me feel restless to the core, until one day, boom, there he was. Home. I knew there and then that it was him that I had been searching for all my life. My life was complete. I was complete. Needless to say, all my feelings of not belonging that had plagued me since my earliest childhood simply vanished with the realization that this person, this one person, existed and by some miracle not only saw me fully but also loved and accepted what he saw 100%. Images 8YKDCSF. Was it a coincidence that we met? Absolutely not. The thing about the journey home is, you never just happen upon it. You have been on this path long before you ever awakened, long before you ever heard the term twin flames. In fact, the yearning for home is deeply ingrained within us, and being with our twin satisfies only part of this hunger through the sense of physical, emotional and spiritual nourishment that only they can provide. Our twin feels like home to us because they help awaken the memory of the vibration and energy that we held whilst in our original state back home. The desire of the soul to reunite with itself will always remain, however the craving for the original feeling of oneness with Source, or God, will follow sooner or later, and it is here that our journey home truly begins. Many of us may catch glimpses of home in meditation or in dreams, and the yearning to return there may at times feel stronger than our desire to continue living in this third-dimensional reality. For me and my twin, the yearning for home was felt long before we ever laid eyes on each other. It was also the catalyst for our first reunion, as well as a reoccurring element in our connection ever since. When I spoke to my twin for the very first time after ending my 3 years of running, he asked me, "Where is your home, Jonah?" It was a very poignant question, because we were both restless travelers at that time, living thousands of miles away from our places of birth. There was no denying that he was the closest to home that I had ever known, and if there was someone on this planet who I knew would take me there, it was him. His questions stayed with me that night and caused me to write my first ever inspired piece of writing. The words just flowed, as if by divine grace. I didn't know much about twin flames, or anything spiritual for that matter, but his questions stirred something deep within me and I had no choice but to lay my soul bare, speaking about our connection for the first time. This is what I shared with him.